Hey, what's up everyone, and welcome to my review for The Transporter Refueled, which is of course a brand new Transporter movie. The guy that transports people and then karate chops people, goes and he hits people and then he drives in his car. He's like, oh, I'm gonna go fast, watch this, and he drives. I don't know if you've seen it, but anyway, the first three movies had Jason Statham in it. One of the best, I would say, living action stars right now, in my opinion. I love Jason Statham. That's just a personal preference. I know now that a lot of people will agree. Maybe a lot will. I don't know. But Jason Statham I love. I loved him in The Transporter. Even the third one, which was definitely the weakest, I still really enjoyed him in that. So, he didn't want to do Transporter anymore, or they just couldn't afford him now because he's been in stuff like Fury 7. That's about it. I guess Expendables. But they couldn't afford him. They wanted to make a low-budget movie. So they got the guy from Game of Thrones. They were just like, yeah, I guess to watch Game of Thrones. And the 2 episodes he was in, he was like, hey, yo, Skrin. That's his name, Ed Skrin. Hey, yo, Skrin, you want to beat up some Europeans? He was like, sure, well, we'd like to. And so they got him, and now he's the transporter, Frank Martin, in a reboot, or I guess a prequel? I don't know. No, it's not a prequel because it's in 2010, and the last ones were like in, I guess, real time of when they came out, like 2008, 2005, 2001. I have no idea. But anyway, this movie, let me just tell you, because this is going to be a quick review. I have not much to say about this film. I've been missing a lot of movies. No, I've been watching them, but I've just been missing a lot of reviews for movies when they're actually relevant. And this movie's already becoming not relevant at all because it bombed completely. It made like $7 million in its first weekend, which isn't like horrendously bad, but then the next week it made $2 million, so that was like a more than a like 65% drop. That's huge. And yeah, this movie's not gonna make that much, and most likely this will be the last Transporter film unless they decide to go to DVD, like the straight to DVD route, which most likely they will. This movie, I'm gonna tell you right here, I enjoyed quite a bit of it in a cheesy kind of Transporter 2 vibe, because the second Transporter film is so ridiculous and so dumb. He flips a car over to get a bomb off the bottom of his car. He flips it over and a crane comes and snatches the bomb up from under his car while it's flipping. Here's the car, here's the crane. He goes up a ramp, flips the car somehow. He's so good, he knows that it's going to flip just like perfectly and right under the crane, and the crane snatches the bomb under the car and it explodes in a terrible green screen effect. It's amazing. I love that movie. It's so dumb. And here you actually have some moments kind of like that, especially towards the end. There's a part where he jumps through in the worst green screen effect you'll ever see, where he jumps through like he's on like one of those ski boats and he launches from it and jumps through like a car window while it's moving, and he does this. He goes. By the way, you can see my reflection now. I got a new display case. But anyway, there's some really ridiculous moments like that. The plot itself is ridiculous. Transporter, Frank Martin, he does his job. He has his father there, Frank Sr., played by Ray Stevenson, who's great in this. And he has to take these 4 women and take them somewhere, and that's his job. But then he gets a little bit more enthralled into the story of these 4 women who used to be prostitutes for this really bad guy, and this guy sucks and they want to get revenge against him. So he gets into this little story of them wanting to get revenge, and he accompanies them and kung fu fights, throws things at people and beats people up. For the most part, the action here is very well done. The story here is silly but interesting when it gets to the 4 women part, at least. It's slightly interesting. Not the worst story out there, not the best. It's decent, but the action is very well filmed. The guy that did this also did Brick Mansions from last year, and that was a relatively fun film. It was stupid just like this, really dumb, but at least it was fun and you could tell what was going on. And he also directed District B13, which is a great action film. I highly recommend that. But yeah, just overall, the action is actually very well filmed. There's actually some really nice little camera movements while the action's going. It never does the shaky cam, really. There's actually a whole fight scene where Frank Martin uses drawers to hit his enemies. He's like in a hall where all these drawers are, and he actually, like, there's an enemy coming up, he uses a drawer and hits them and gets them caught into the drawer and stuff. It's actually really, really fun to watch. That was a really cool segment. There's also a whole segment where he's inside like this I guess this boiler room or something like that. I can't, or this security guard room. I can't remember what, but he's in there and the camera's like moving around while he's like fighting and stuff. It's like going into like a pan or like a circle around the action. It's actually really well done. So the action is very good, very well choreographed. Ed Skrein does very well with the action. He looks, you know, he looks plausible. It looks like he's actually doing the action. He's not as good as Jason Statham. I'm not gonna say that. He's not as charismatic. He's not as funny when he says his, you know, crappy one-liners or whatnot. He doesn't pull that off, but he pulls off the action pretty damn well. Like I said, Ray Stevenson is great here. He's really likable, really fun in this movie. I wish we saw him do more of the action, because we've seen him do action before and stuff like The Punisher, Warzone, and he does very well. You know, he does good stuff, you know, when it comes to action. He's great. And the girls, for the most part, are okay. Most of them aren't like too like too I don't know, too, like they don't exuberate character. Is that a word? Exuberate? Is that a word? I don't think so. But anyway, there's not much character in their character, really. Like, you don't really get to know them as people, but you feel for them because of their situation, kinda, and you're with them for the most part. My main problem with this film is that it's just so nothing, really. I mean, the action's good, but it's not memorable. There's no real memorable scenes besides the drawer scene. That's memorable, but even that only lasts for like 30 seconds. Like, Transport 2 had some really memorable, fun scenes. Transport 3, no. I think this is actually better than Transport 3. And Transport 1 was actually a decent story with a decent action flick in there. It was actually more grounded, I realized. The Transporter 1, at least. The other two, no. And this one, definitely not. But, I don't know. It's just not memorable like the other ones. It's not as silly. And, of course, Ed Skrein, like I said, he does good with the action, but he doesn't become a really likable main character like Frank Martin, Jason Statham was in the original 3. But overall, Transporter Refueled is not a terrible film. Well, maybe it is, but it's not a bad time. I'm going to give it a 21 out of 40. I enjoyed it for the most part. So there you go. That's my review for the Transporter Refueled. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you, and goodbye.